Hello, everyone. This is the Persuasive speech, and my topic I chose is paying collegiate athletes. All right. The National Collegiate Athletic Association is a nonprofit organization who says their giant checkbook and revenue is used to benefit the nearly 460,000 student athletes they have. But really, this money is not used for beneficial ways that support these student athletes and create difficult situations for these athletes after they've finished their college careers. The NCAA should have to pay their players, and by no means am I saying that these collegiate athletes deserve contracts like we see in professional sports, but they do deserve some kind of financial compensation for all of the work that they do for the organization and the school, which the organization and school profit on extremely. Helping pay these players/employees is just a common thing. You don't just work someone and then don't benefit them. All right, now let's get down to it. The money. The NCAA made a whopping $1.06 billion last year. That's just their revenue. To give you a better perspective of how much the organization actually brings in, let's look at one of their events, which is their biggest event, the College Men's Basketball Tournament, or March Madness. It raked in nearly 90% of the total revenue for the NCAA, $900 million. So that's how much the organization brought in. But then there's another pool within the actual tournament itself. $220 million is divided up between the 68 teams, or schools, however you'd like to look at it. And here's how it's broken down. For every team, you have $1.7 million. And so each time you advance in a game, you get another 1.7 about. So in the end, the team that makes it all the way can earn about $8.6 million. Yet none of this money that the schools get go to players at all. It goes directly back into the school and most likely back into the hundreds of $1 million contracts that these college coaches get, and then the presidents of the universities, and then the president of the organization. Now, the NCAA defends itself by saying that they can't pay the players in three ways. Number one, it's the players are amateurs. Number two, they talk about their scholarships are their ways of paying the player. And number three, that they're student athletes, so their main focus is their education. All right, now let's look at this. Their scholarships, for a very small number of kids that actually play sports in college, out of the 446,000 kids that are under the NCAA, they provide about 150,000 scholarships. That's a lot of kids that don't have any financial help when paying for school. And not all of these scholarships are full ride, which means a lot of these kids, of the 150,000, are not even receiving financial aid in helping to pay for the hundreds of thousands of dollars of school that they have to do. And they are working in school and at sports. And if you're a Division III player, you don't even have the opportunity to get a scholarship. So at least providing some kind of financial aid to these players so that their education is something that they're actually getting out of it, instead of having to pay for the education and pay to play sports, which the universities and the organization is profiting off of. All right, now let's look at the word amateurs, which is how the NCAA defines these players. So a quote from the NCAA's former executive vice president of regulatory affairs: "Paying college athletes would restrict in a very significant way from pursuing what they really need to pursue, an education. And we need to emphasize the value of that education." End quote. Well, there's a few problems with this. While yes, the athletes are given an education, this education means little to nothing to these players. Their education afterward doesn't take them anywhere, and most of the degrees that they have to get are so little that because they have to miss so much class time for games and practice. And if they are trying to get a very high education, it's impossible because they have to devote so much of their time to practice. So giving these players some kind of financial compensation so that they can just look at their schoolwork later time after they've tried and gone after their goals of sports is a better way to handle this. All right. So let's look at just a brief way to look at through all the justifications the NCAA makes. Okay, there's scholarships. Not everyone gets them. They need to give the students all scholarships or somehow provide a financial aid in these kids so that they can go to school and not have to pay for school and sports. They need to get rid of the word amateurism because this is just a poor way to tell people that I can profit off of you, because the NCAA as well made $1.3 billion off of a game which uses the likeness and image of players in college, which the players receive nothing from. Giving this money that they're using the likeness of will help the players pay for things in college, or if they want to pursue a higher education, give them that ability later. And the education part, again, we'll bring up, is it's just not valuable enough to the students at the time. Going and getting a major and a degree after you've gone after your goals of sports is a better way to handle this. It also helps the students because there's so much stress on them because they have hours of practice and then hours of study, and there's no way to fit it all in. Overall, the NCAA needs to start looking at their fat wallets and taking a little bit out and giving it back to the players. The players really need this money to help them support after college, during college, because most of these players do not make it professional, and there's no way for them to start something afterward if their education means nothing. Pay the players so they can have a financial stability after college.